My name is Zachary Anderson. Today we're diving into the topic of inflation, a critical economic indicator that affects all aspects of our financial lives. Let's explore what inflation is and why it matters. So, what is inflation? Inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices of goods and services rises over time. This means that as inflation increases, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. It's like a hidden tax on our purchasing power. Inflation indicates how much more expensive a set of goods and services has become over a certain period, usually over a year. Inflation plays a crucial role in economic stability. Moderate and predictable inflation is a sign of a healthy economy. It encourages spending and investment because people expect prices to continue rising. And then when inflation is high or unpredictable, it can create uncertainty, discouraging saving and investment, and leading to economic instability. To counteract the effects of inflation, we have cost of living adjustments. Cost of living adjustments is increases in wages, salaries, benefits, or pensions to counteract the effects of inflation and maintain the purchasing power of recipients. They are directly related to inflation as they are mechanisms designed to keep up with rising prices. Inflation can lead to demands for higher wages as workers try to maintain their purchasing power. There are two primary causes of inflation. Cost push inflation occurs when the cost of production increases, leading to a decrease in the supply of goods and services. When wages rise, the cost of production for businesses increases, which they are often pass on to the consumers in the form of higher prices. An increase in the cost of raw materials raises production costs for businesses. The other primary cause is the demand pull. Demand pull inflation occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds their supply. When consumers have more disposable income, they tend to spend more, increasing demands for goods and services. Lower interest rates make borrowing cheaper, encouraging both consumers and businesses to take loans and spend more. Analyzing a graph from the Fed, I stumbled across one about golf and the Producer Price Index of golf equipment. The Producer Price Index and inflation are closely related as the PPI is one of the key indicators used to measure inflationary pressures within an economy. The Producer Price Index measures the average change over time in the selling prices received by the domestic producers of their output. The PPI reflects changes in the prices of goods at the producer or wholesale level. Because these price changes occurs earlier in the production process, the PPI can serve as an early indicator of inflationary trends. When producers face high input costs, they may pass these costs on to consumers in the form of higher retail prices. This can be seen in the golf industry today. Inflation directly affects our purchasing power, savings, and interest rates. Purchasing power refers to the quantity of goods and services that can be purchased within a unit of currency. As prices rise due to inflation, the same amount of money buys fewer goods and services. Inflation can disproportionately affect lower income households, which spend a larger portion of their income on essential goods and services that are subject to price increases. And then savings represents money that is set aside for future rather than spent immediately. Inflation reduces the real value of saving. If the inflation rate is higher than the interest rate earned on savings accounts, the purchasing power of saved money decreases over time. High inflation can discourage saving as the value of money saved is eroded. And then interest rates are the cost of borrowing money or the return on savings, typically expressed as a percentage. To control inflation, central banks may increase interest rates. Higher interest rates makes borrowing more expensive, which can reduce spending and investment, helping to cool off an overheated economy. Increased interest rates raise the cost of borrowing for consumers and businesses. This can lead to reduced consumption and investment, potentially slowing economic growth. Recently, President Biden introduced the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 will make a historic down payment on deficient reduction to fight inflation, invest in domestic energy production and manufacturing, and reduce carbon emissions by roughly 40% by 2030. There are no new taxes on families making $400,000 or less, and no new taxes on small businesses. Lastly, unemployment is closely linked to inflation. Unemployment refers to the situation where individuals who are willing and able to work are unable to find suitable employment opportunities. Unemployment affects wage dynamics in the labor market. High unemployment typically suppresses wage growth as there is less competition for workers. Conversely, low unemployment can lead to wage pressures as businesses compete for a limited pool of available workers. Low unemployment often correlates with higher consumer demands for goods and services. This increased demand can contribute to demand pull inflation, where prices rise due to increased consumer spending outstripping available supply. Thank you for your time, and now we will tune into the interview.